What's up, everybody? Welcome to Mongols. This is our off-season Q&A show. I am Mike Sparks. Joining me is Steve Mattias and Josh Brokaw. Steve, you felt like you had something locked and loaded.
Yeah, I was just enjoying the intro. What is this? 2 years we've had that intro?
Is that your way of saying we need a new intro?
No.
Feels like that's your way of saying.
That's not what I'm saying at all. Actually, I think we've had that for 2 years. What I was going to say is it's still fun after this amount of time.
I was thinking
I still find myself doing stupid hokey dances to it.
Yeah, I like the music. I feel like I need to change up the video footage for those of you who are watching live. We need to mix it up. We also need to talk off air about the logo. We might want to do something with that. Josh, I know that you have thoughts, and I might be drifting towards your direction, so we'll get there. First of all, before we dive in, just as a reminder for anybody who's joining us live, we appreciate it. The comments are open. Everyone was civil last week, so we said, let's do it again. So anytime you type something in the comments that appears live on screen, we already have a question. Who's the coach in 2026? Good question. We're going to talk about that. So if you have other questions or comments, keep them coming. They're a lot of fun. But first, Josh, did you guys get snowed in today, or were you guys okay? What was the snow like where you are?
I mean, it's heavy. We have not left the house. Like, we kind of planned ahead. We're just like, okay, it's going to snow. It looks like it's definitely coming. So let's just not leave the house today, which is nice. But at the same time, I'm kind of already regretting it because my car is still snowed in and I park on the side of the street. So it's not, it's like really snowed in, and then I have to go to work tomorrow. So I'm just thinking to myself, like, oh man, I'm going to have to get up early, clean off the car, and all. So I'm not looking forward to that, but that's tomorrow's problem.
I was going to do it tonight, Josh.
I could, but it's cold and it's nighttime.
It is cold out there.
Yeah. Steve, how's Rory like the snow?
He loves it. This weather's a little too cold for him to want to be outside for too long, but I can get him in the backyard for about 5 minutes or so before he's like, all right. But he bounces around, eats a bunch of snow, gets it all over his face, rolls around in it. So it makes him really hyper. I was dog sitting for my neighbors the past couple nights, and their dog is very old. She doesn't get around well. Usually he just leaves her alone because he recognizes that, but something about being out in the snow and he just couldn't contain himself and he knocked her over. She was fine.
He's like those baby goats that you see that just bounce off of everything because they're so excited.
Half the time he's jumping off of me.
Yeah. That's awesome. We woke up, spent, I don't know how much time shoveling our ridiculously long driveway because we had a soccer game in Hempfield. So that's where we had to be this afternoon. I thought I'd convince my kid not to go. And then, of course, like 20 minutes before we had to leave, he begged and pleaded. And so we made it. The roads were okay. The main roads were fine. Back roads were a little bit slippery. I also made him drive on the way back because I was like, you got to figure this out, kid. So he has his permit and he did just fine. So, yeah.
You got to find an old ride-on tractor with a plow.
So my
oh, no, sorry.
No. So there's a whole story. My wife's uncle gave us an old beat up 4-wheeler. And so I bought a plow to put on the front of that 4-wheeler. The issue is that it's kind of lightweight. So I'll get it in the snow and the plow makes it front heavy. And then the whole thing, like the tires just spin. And I'm like, I spend the whole time rocking this 4-wheeler trying to like shake it loose. So I need to come up with another solution. It's that's not going to work anymore, but we'll see. Well, yeah, everybody's cold. I got I'm wearing the scarf because this is my championship gear that came in. So I got my 2025 champions hats and scarf. But I was like, it is cold, so I'm going to wear the scarf anyway. Guys, lots of news and lots of talking points. We sat down this morning and I think it was kind of like, well, what are we going to talk about? And it was like, well, turns out there's a lot. So first and foremost, the big news, Brad Sample signed a new 2+1 year deal. Josh, immediate thoughts on Brad Sample being back?
Sample being back is great. I think he did pretty good this season, and he's been getting better every season, and I'm happy to see that progress moving forward. And the fact that he signed for such a long time for us is also pretty exciting. I think that's pretty safe bet on him as well. I don't think that's risky at all, seeing how he has had such a good tenure so far with us. So I'm happy to see it.
Steve, we talked a little bit about the midfield and sort of the glut of riches that we have there. Do you think that Bradley Sample coming back has any implications on who might not be coming back, specifically Jackson Walty?
No, I don't think so at all. I think that midfield is what makes this team run going forwards. And if we're going to be looking to build an offense, we've got to keep that midfield strong, the ball moving. And I think having those options is really, really good. I also think I have a pretty, my personal sense is I think we know who is definitively gone at this point. And we've talked about some of that. But the fact that we haven't seen anything from Walty, I think that's a good sign. I mean, you talked about it in our Slack when the announcement came out about Brad, and I forget the exact quote, but advanced talks, I think is what it said, with other players to return. And to me, that's got to be you're talking to Jackson, you're talking to Robbie, you're talking to Danny. Those are the guys that are really the ones that I think make the biggest difference. We may see somebody else that we don't expect. Maybe Jacob Randolph will be back. I don't know. I kind of actually feel like he will be, but I have nothing to base that on. But it's that's my offseason wild pick thing. But it's just great to see Brad come back. And I think we're going to see more of those guys that I just mentioned also coming back on longer term deals. And those 2-year deals, that makes a big difference for me.
I also don't think it says anything about Walty, because if we're willing to basically let go of all of our forwards for the most part, our starting forwards, and not blink an eye, I don't think us signing someone really means anything for the other player. We could have seen both of them leave, or it would have made a difference.
Yeah, no, I think it's fair. One thing that I went have a conversation with Sample about in the offseason, we talked about this. Last year, he chopped his hair, and he had a really slow start to the season with injury. As soon as the mullet comes back, people were saying he might have been our player of the season for the back half. We'll see. I know we voted for Mertz, but he had a great run. Maybe the mullet doesn't go this offseason. Who knows?
Keep the lettuce, Brad. Keep the lettuce.
Keep the lettuce. Listen, there's going to be a change to this, what I'm filming in front of, and it's really making me think long and hard again about getting a Brad Sample Chia Pet. So that might be in the background at some point here, because I think it needs to happen. I got that. I got the Eric Dick glove. We got all sorts of stuff. But yeah, the Chia Pet's got to come back. Guys, any more thoughts on the Walty signing before we kind of move on to the next bit of news or non-news, however we want to talk about it?
The lack of Walty signing so far, you mean?
Oh, sorry, I meant Sample.
I was you know something I don't know. No, I mean,
ask us all these questions. It's hey guys, I got the exclusive.
Wink, wink, nod, nod. Yeah, no, I got nothing. Okay. So the question that I think is on everyone's mind, and I feel like we've talked about it for the past few weeks now, is who is going to be our coach in 2026? To be fair, I think we were under the assumption that an announcement would have been made this past week. Mm-hmm. I even went so far as to try to set up an interview for Friday and was given a well, we'll kind of see. And then Bradley Sample was announced on Friday, and that kind of sealed that we weren't going to hear about a coach. And they likely aren't going to make that announcement over the weekend. Rob Vincent did do an interview with the USL show. And just some inside baseball here for those of you at home. When you do a show on something like a StreamYard, or that's the software that we use to actually do this thing live, the people who are on the show are the ones who type in their name and their title. So in this case, Steve and I don't have a title, we just have our name, but Josh has Josh, and then he has his handle for social media. When Rob was on the USL show, he had Rob Vincent, and his title was assistant coach. Steve, should I read into that at all? Okay.
No.
All right. Okay. All right.
Nothing has changed officially, right? He started 2 years ago as assistant coach. He took over as acting head coach, but his job was still assistant coach. Everything from the Hounds, game day reports and everything, still listed Bob as the coach, right? Bob was never fired. He was put on leave. And so there's been no change whatsoever. And so to me, it doesn't surprise me one bit. I think what does surprise me is he has to know, the team has to know. It's got to be him at this point. If they're letting him go do interviews with other media organizations, right? Like you're not letting somebody do those interviews if you're not keeping him around. And I guess I just kind of feel like, is he staying if he's not taking the head coach job? He's got to have offers elsewhere.
Josh just changed his title to not head coach for those of you who are watching live.
Just in case anyone was wondering. I just want to make sure. I don't want to, he's not going to break news. Like if you're putting your title in there, I don't think Rob would be dumb enough to be like, oh, I got the job, so I'll put head coach. Like, oh crap. Well, like, so you can't put it in there until the team announces it. So like, that's what I was thinking.
You do have the option to do nothing. And maybe Rob just didn't know that. Like, you don't have to put a title in there at all. So I put it out there because I think a lot of people saw the interview. I thought it was a good interview. There was a number of times that it felt like he was throwing some shade, which was interesting. You'll have to go listen to kind of decipher some of that. But I don't think it means anything. And to be fair, if we wanted to talk to Rob, the Hounds would have made Rob available. We just keep waiting for an announcement because we're assuming it's him. Even if it's not him, if he's still an assistant coach, we still love talking to him. You can't, well, those of you on the mobile, you can see that we've talked to him a couple of times this past season alone. So one way or another, we will be talking to Rob, it feels like. We're just kind of waiting for something official.
I want to follow up on that throwing shade aspect, right? Like, I think I talked about this middle of the season where people in the organization were fed up with Bob Lilly, and people dissatisfied with that were not players. I think this is just kind of the evidence of like a lot of people saw what was going on, and a lot of people are willing to say, hey, I'm different. And a lot of people, not necessarily, like, I'm not just talking coaches, right? Like there's people that I have had numerous conversations with over the years that are very close to the organization, embedded in the organization at one level or another, that are willing to say some things that are just like, yep, like not big fans of Bob. And sometimes it's really funny. Other times it's like, oh, snap. And so it's just like, it doesn't surprise me that he's willing to say some of those things, because I think that for me, what that does is that indicates that Bob's gone, and that makes me happy.
Yeah, I also don't know if I read as much into the comment, because some of the stuff you could see as being throwing shade, but it could also just be him talking about the differences in their style, and we've noticed the differences in their style, like him talking about wanting to be a calming force on the sideline. You look over and you see him being cool and collected. That makes you feel a little bit more cool. That's just his approach to the situation. Whereas, I mean, there's plenty of coaches out there that are the exact opposite, that are, still big name coaches, where you look over there and they're like kicking water bottles and being even more bombastic than what Bob was. So like, I don't know. I didn't see that part personally as throwing shade, but I definitely think it was pointing out differences in their style and demeanor.
I think that's fair. Yeah. I'm not going to, use any direct comments because people tend to take those out of context, but go watch the interview. It was a good interview. We like Rob. He's a good dude. We look forward to talking to him here, hopefully this week. We have to get an announcement this week, right?
Gotta.
Like, it has to be.
So long.
I think it has to be. Obviously, this is the other thing that's like, I know in the Steel Army Discord, we've been talking about a lot, and like, we all assume it's already happened. They haven't announced it, but like, they have to know what's going on at this point.
Right.
And I would even assume that they knew what was going on last week, and probably the week before.
Right.
I just don't know why you wait this long, unless you don't want to step on other news, like you're signing players and you're like, oh, we have to announce this player's been signed and this player's been signed. So like, you don't want to, have double news on one day where it's like, we signed Bradley Sample, and then like an hour later, like, and Rob Vincent's a coach, and now like the Sample signing means nothing, and it feels like you're kind of trampling over your own news cycle. So that's my hope. But yeah, I can't believe they haven't done it yet.
Well, and I can't imagine that Brad Sample signs a 2+ 1 year deal without knowing who the coach is. So he's here for 2 years plus an option, which I think is, we've talked about the length of time. To me, that feels right for Brad Sample. He's now had 2 years with the organization. We've seen him in a couple different roles. He can thrive in a couple of different places. That feels good to me. Steve, in the chat, we got a question here from M Steiner 90. He says, if Bob's gone, or they say, if Bob's gone and you worry about talent ID, I thought he played a larger role in identifying the younger talent to help compete with higher payroll teams like Lou City. That was something that they talked about on the USL show, about the Hounds have been really good about trying to pull guys out from college and developing them. Do you have any concern if Bob's not the coach with us finding and bringing in talent?
Yes and no, right? Like, so there is going to be, for me, I think, an obvious gap in the skill set and the relationships that Bob brought in terms of those connections. But I also look at, we've got a sporting director in Dan Visser who has been with this organization since before Bob, worked with Bob to identify that talent and bring that talent in for years as assistant coach, and then the past 2 years as sporting director. And so I think that I look at what Dan can do. Rob has a lot of connections if he's the coach, right? Like he's been around Pittsburgh for a long time, but he also has connections in MLS from his time in DC. He's got connections from overseas from before he came here. You got John Bush, hopefully, right? Like I tried to find, there's no actual info on Bushy's contract, just that he signed a couple years ago, but I think we're going to see Bushy back too. And so you've got guys that have a lot of connections. To me, the issue is not finding the talent. I think, yes, there will be some college players that we will miss out on because their coaches aren't saying, hey, Bob Lilly will help you make it as a pro, which is, I think, why we've seen so many first-year guys come and be successful. But I also think that there's the other side of that coin, that there's players that, like they talked about at the end of the championship game on the USL show, that we've got an opportunity to recruit players that never would have come to Pittsburgh in the past, both because we just won a championship and because they know they're playing for someone that they're not going to feel like they're getting degraded by all the time. And so we might miss out on some really young talent, but I think we're going to get overall better because we're going to find players that are willing to come that otherwise wouldn't have.
Yeah, and I think one thing to also kind of highlight as well, yes, I think that Bob worked a number of connections to try to find specific players and talk to coaches and stuff, but let's not forget that we have a combine where players are coming in and trying out, and so that's where we're identifying talent as well. And in talking to some of the guys in the back staff, a lot of the talent that we find is because they literally have agents that are sending them footage and saying, look at this guy. So Steve, to your point, we just won the championship. There's not going to be a shortage of people sending us footage saying, look at this guy. And when we kind of look at the gaps that this team is going to be trying to fill this season, in theory, if you're bringing back a Danny Griffin and a Robbie Mertz and even a Jackson Walty, your midfield is kind of locked up. You also have Charles All coming back. You're trying to identify talent that's on the attacking side of things, which you'd have to imagine one of Rob's jobs was to scout the opponent. He's going to have a good idea of what kind of attacking talent is out there that he might be interested in and have a sense of who might be coming free. Likewise, on the goaltender side, Bushy is tapped into everything that goes on in that world. So I think that Bob was able to identify young talent and develop them, but for every Charles All, how many Mark Forsts did we have where it was just like you have one moment and then they're gone? Or, Jason Borgi, who like might have had some Max Broughton, like they look good and then it doesn't work. So I don't think I'm as concerned. Josh, are you concerned at all?
A little bit, but it's less about finding the talent and more about identifying the talent that's in front of you. By that, I just mean, like, I don't think Bob was doing anything special where he's, there's been some talk about like, oh, he would go out to like pit games constantly and other soccer games and, amateur leagues and that kind of stuff. But like, I do feel like a lot of the talent that we got was coming, to us, not the other way around. It was just identifying the pieces that you wanted to make things happen. And I do wonder about that for the current staff that we have, whether it be Rob or if it's Visser, whatever. Like, I do think that is a talent that Bob had. He could identify. And two, I think it was you in the comments, like, with that budget, like the budget is the problem, obviously, and Bob was able to find talent that would fit the budget by going off these younger guys and taking chances on them, but kind of being able to identify something about them.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like if we don't have a budget, which I'm still not convinced that we don't have a budget. I think it's just that our budget isn't as big as Louisville's budget, which I don't know if anyone's in the league really is. Even Rhode Island, them splashing a lot of cash when they came in, I don't think that's sustainable. I think it was just a first season, push. Moral of the story is I do think Bob had something special with beyond identified talent, and that's going to be one of the hurdles they have to, get over, is to find a way to do that with what they have.
Yeah.
I want to jump in on the budget aspect that the reality is like, we just don't know anything about the budget. I mean, a few years ago, I was able to confirm that the Hounds were payroll wise at about the median in the league in the year. So that was 2023, the year we won the Shield, right? So the best regular season team from the Hounds was right in the middle of everybody in the league at that point. But what we don't really know is the budget. And I'll use the Chico going to Rhode Island, Albertico going to Rhode Island, that I'm not convinced that we couldn't have signed him. But what I don't think we could have competed with Rhode Island. I'll be clear about that. What Rhode Island paid him was way out of what the Hounds, I think, could have afforded with everything else. But they were able to scoop in and get him after things with the Hounds had already been resolved. And Indy was talking to him. And Indy's offer, from everything I've been able to figure out, was not that much better than the Hounds. But Bob Lilly put a price tag and said, I won't negotiate beyond this, right? And so it's not that he couldn't negotiate beyond this. He said, this is what I think you're worth, and I'm not going to get into a bidding war. And so I think that there's this aspect of, is it that the money is not there, or is it that Bob Lilly was someone who was making decisions and said, this is what I think you're worth, and I'm not going to try to nickel and dime and whatnot. And so take it or leave it, because that's part of the personality of Bob Lilly, of having control, right? Like if you don't like my offer, I'll replace you.
I mean, I think Bob has said as much on this show. Like when we would interview with him, he would say, I could go get two guys for that amount. And so that's how he operated. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Josh Brown at X1L, maybe? I can't tell if that's 2 1s. Anyway, thanks, Josh. He said, do you think that there are some legal issues going on with Bob? Why are they so quiet with all of this? Josh, do you have any thoughts on why the secrecy?
I honestly don't know. I do wonder if it is, well, at first I thought they were waiting. It's because they were, waiting for the whole thing to clear up with Bob and what's going on. I think that has to be over by now. There's no way that this is still dragging on months after the original announcement. So like, if it is something legal, that has to be over by now. Like it can't be still in limbo about what's going on there. So I don't think it's something legal related. I do think there's been some talks about like maybe his contract, and like there's nothing in the contract, and maybe we have to wait until the official offseason before you can announce anything. Maybe, but I don't think so. Like that doesn't sit right with me either. Yeah. I literally think it's a little bit of houndsiness. Just they take forever to announce stuff. Like they're getting their ducks in a row. They have a whole bunch of stuff on their plate, and they just haven't made the announcement yet. Doesn't mean they haven't figured it out yet. It just means, media and, us fans are the last to know about a lot of it, because they're just not ready with that part of it yet.
Well, and what we do know is that it was an official league investigation into something that happened with Bob. And so just from a purely marketing standpoint, you don't want to take a team that literally just won the championship and are riding this high and all of a sudden be really forthcoming of like, our former coach did this thing that kind of sucks. Like put you in the news for something else that's wrong. So I know, right. Steve, we had kind of theorized, we knew that Bob's contract was going to be up at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. Do you just wait until the contract runs out and then the team can just say, we don't talk about prior employees or whatever. Right. And then you don't have to
yes. And you don't talk about Bob, you talk about the new coach, right? Do I want to know what things are? Yes, I want that announcement. Is the team going to do that? No, they're not going to focus on that. They're going to focus on, hey, we thank Bob Lilly for his service over the past 8 years. He built this team, blah, 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 blah. We wish him well in his future endeavors. The league says whatever they want to say about Bob, which will be nothing as well. And the Hounds focus on, and we have hired the person that is going to do this for us, right? Like if it's Rob, we have hired the guy that was on the sidelines leading this team through the playoffs to this championship run. If it's somebody else, it's here's what we expect from this guy, right? Like that's it. It's a positive message. You're not going to go back and look at whatever it was, as much as I think we all want to know, right? Like I'm not alone in that. We want to know. We're not going to know.
Agreed.
So.
Got to put up this comment here from Mark Meat 691. Sorry. Only been following the Riverhounds for the last season. Not always been the easiest here in Scotland. Glad I found you guys to cover everything. Thank you, Mark. We appreciate the support. You are welcome to join anytime and share your thoughts in the comments.
I'm glad you pulled that one up, Mike, because I saw that one. I was like, we gotta make sure Mark knows that we appreciate that. So, so Mark, if you ever make it to Pittsburgh and come to a game, find me, find Josh. Beer on me. I can't speak for Josh, but I'm sure he'll do something.
Sure, why not?
Guys, we don't know who the head coach is going to be, but we do know, unfortunately, another player departing that we had all kind of theorized after last week. We expected this to come, but it is now official. Luke Biasi is officially heading to Phoenix. The picture that I have up here on the screen was taken at the end of the last game. You could tell he's kind of heartbroken, just kind of soaking it all up. The message that he put online was, I say this with a heavy heart, but having the opportunity to play for the city, these fans, and end on the note we did has been so bittersweet for me. My time in Pittsburgh will be coming to an end. To all my fellow teammates, staff, and fans, it has truly been an honor to experience the highs and lows together. To come in as a rookie, spend 4 years together, and end a champion has been surreal. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because it happened. See you soon. Heart emoji. Luke Biasi. Steve, I know I like Luke personally. We talked a number of times, shared some stuff. You like Luke. Not that Josh didn't like Luke, but anytime we talked about ranking players, I felt like Steve was always talking about Luke. Talk about Luke Biasi leaving.
Okay. I wanted Luke on the field. Absolutely versatile, could do a lot, and was excellent over the past few years, especially. Is he the biggest loss of the offseason? From a technical perspective, no. But this, for me, is another one of those players. This is Dikwa. This is Jordan Dover. This is Nico Brett level of loss to me because of the personal relationship, right? Like Luke is an awesome guy. And I mean, I've been around the team for a long time, been on the podcast for 6-7 years, getting to know these guys in a way that I think few fans get to know them. Doing those interviews with them at times, right? Like, and then talking to them in ways that, like, yes, fans get to know them, but like they know who we are. And so having those conversations, it's like, I mean, Junior at the end of the conference championship, like coming up and talking to me about things, right? Like, Luke is one of those guys that like would always make it a point to like recognize me, not just as a fan, but as someone that he knew. And so it's that level of those players that I've known well in the past of, he could, be crap, and it would hurt just as much because Luke is a great guy that I love to death.
Yeah. Josh, thoughts on Luke?
Yeah, I do think that this is one of the bigger losses as far as players this season that are leaving. He was fantastic, and what he was able to do on the field was awesome. But at the same time, he also just brought like a different, like that enforcer vibe to the team, and able to get those scrappy, fouls, those yellows. Was always fun to watch for me, at least. I was always, wanting him to be the next Danny Earls for us.
Yep.
Didn't quite get to that level, but he definitely was not afraid to put his body on the line and to slide in, which was great. So he's going to be hard to replace, I feel like. But, every player I kind of feel like is a big loss with this team, especially because of what got achieved. So it's hard to imagine what we're gonna get to replace his talent, but at the same time, we've seen it happen in the past. So I'm not too worried, but I am sad.
Yeah, and this is where I will give a plug to Houndsy. If you don't listen to the Houndsy podcast, go check them out. Dan Yost and Ariana and Peter and crew on their most recent episode, they brought up the valid point of mid-season, we weren't thinking this team was even making the playoffs. So while it hurts that we're losing some of these guys, especially guys who've been around a long time, who feel so monumental to what this team was able to accomplish, there's still a lot of improvement to be made for this team to continue to sustain and be really good moving forward. So you're going to have people leave. And if we had said that, maybe you have to lose Eric Dick or Biasi or Suber mid-season to maybe be able to bring in some other talent in a couple of other places, I'm not sure we all would have been like, well, that's the worst thing ever. We probably wouldn't have liked it.
Mike.
Well, we wouldn't have liked it. Look, there were moments where Dick lost the starting spot in keeper. And we were like, well, what's going on here? So like those guys, I'm trying to make a case for there's going to be turnover, and turnover isn't the worst thing in the world if you want to keep, developing and evolving with the league. So I'm definitely going to miss Luke. I'm going to miss Sean. I'm going to miss Eric. I'm going to miss all those guys. I'm sad that they are gone, but we've lost other key players like that in big positions in the past and been like, Joe Greenspan, what is happening? Arturo Ordonez, what is and like we kind of find talent and we keep going. And so before Steve's head explodes, Josh, do you have any other final thoughts on that?
No, you're right though. Like this team was an enigma because of the season that we had versus the playoffs that we had. Yeah. So it is true, but I would say that throughout all that, I don't think any of us were like, man, Luke needs to go. Or not even needs to go. It's just like not performing. I feel like Luke was always a bright spot in this team.
Agreed. Yeah. We appreciate all the comments and questions. Keep them coming. We will circle back to some. I know there's a few other things that I wanted to touch on first, and if we have time, we will get to them. So thank you, everybody who is contributing live. Guys, one other thing. I got a couple things. The Eastern Conference has been announced. So for those of you who did not know, we basically are in a conference with 13 teams into next year. A lot of familiar faces. You got Birmingham, Charleston Battery, Detroit, Hartford, Indy, Loudoun, Louisville, Miami, Rhode Island, the Rowdies, but two newcomers. We've got Brooklyn FC and we have Sporting Jacksonville in Florida. So we now have 3 teams in Florida, which, I guess it's a big state. And there's going to be a team in Brooklyn that we're going to be playing. So Steve, your thoughts on the 2 new additions and just sort of how the Eastern Conference is shaking out?
Love the colors for Jacksonville. Know nothing about them. A actual USL team in New York excites me. This is fun to me, right? Like growing up 80 miles north of New York City, following New York sports teams my entire life, trying to follow the Red Bulls / Metro Stars, but not really. Like there was no way to watch it back then, right? That there is a team at this level is just absolutely awesome. And then there's like the bigger picture of like new teams coming in that have a good plan, and it seems like both of these teams from what other people are saying, not from my own research, look like they have the ability to be stable, I think is really exciting. I expect to see these teams be successful in the long haul. Hopefully not in the table, but in staying in the table, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Staying in the conference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Josh, if you could do one away day, are you going to Brooklyn or Jacksonville?
Probably Brooklyn. It's closer. I don't know. I'm not excited for Jacksonville as much at all. And I disagree. I think their colors are terrible. White text with baby blue. Like, you can barely read it. Like, you're not gonna be able to see that.
I like the baby blue. That's all.
Oh, I like the
the color of the sea. Like,
yeah, like that on a kit. You're not
yellow
gonna
and orange.
Anything.
You're right. The white actually isn't great now that you pointed out.
Yeah,
but I just focused on the quick look of. I like the colors.
It has a very 70s feel to it.
Yeah, it does. I'm going to try my hardest not to always break out into a fake Brooklyn accent and say no offense here.
Wait, can you do that again for me?
I didn't do the accent. I just said never.
You didn't do the accent. Yeah.
It's for news.
Josh.
I was going to say I
can't do this, Josh.
I love the Newsies reference, Josh. I got it immediately. Yeah.
But yeah, so I'm excited to have them in the league with us. I am not excited by the fact that we now have an uneven schedule and it's all kind of jacked up, and there's 12 teams in, what is it, 13 in the East and 12 in the West, or is it the other way? Yeah. So like all that kind of sucks, and not knowing what's going on with the Jaeger Cup and like the number of games we're going to have seems weird. And I don't know, there's a lot of stuff I don't like, but overall I am happy to see new teams come in, even if we also had some teams drop.
Yeah. You mentioned the Jaeger Cup. One of the things we won't talk about tonight, we'll save this for a future episode, but is the Open Cup, the U.S. Open Cup. There were some changes made where now not every USL team will be in the Open Cup. And so the Hounds are still in it. There's going to be more to come on this. It's been in flux for the past few years and just crazy things happening, and would have hoped that they would have gotten this right heading into a World Cup year. And it just sounds like
they blame it on the World Cup.
I know.
The Open Cup's messed up because of the World Cup. So, don't worry. It's not going to be like this forever. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So we'll circle back. We'll talk about that later. Guys, one of the other bits of news that we did get as it relates to the Hounds is we do know some of our early season games. So as tradition, the league doesn't announce the entire schedule. They announce the home opening schedule. Mm-hmm. So we know 3 of the Hounds games because 3 of them are home openers in various capacities. So we know that we're going to start on the road against Charleston Battery on March 7th, which is literally like 2 months away. It's insane. Wow. We will also play Tampa Bay Rowdies in Tampa on Saturday, March 21st. Before we have our home opener Saturday, March 28th against Sporting Jacksonville. Josh, we were talking a little bit. There's a gap between the game against Charleston and the game against Tampa. Do you think that we would actually have a bye week in week 2? I know we've done that in the past. We've had early bye weeks. Or do you just think it's the case that we're going to play somewhere that it isn't a home opener?
Yeah, the only other option here is that we play away against a team that already had a home opener. So they would have 2 home games in a row, which is not unusual. We have 2 away games in a row, at least, probably 3. So it's very possible. There's not enough information right now. I would not be surprised, though, if we actually did have a bye. If we're going to have a bye, make it this early, especially with us not wanting to play in Pittsburgh so early in the season. Mm-hmm. Hopefully because, well, 1, obviously because of weather. That's why it's always been that way. But 2, maybe construction's happening. Maybe, some expansion stuff is happening and they're just trying to keep us away from the stadium as much as possible in the early of the season. We'll see, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for those of us who were around last year, I don't think any of us will forget was it the preseason game against, was it Pitt? Where it was all snowed out and like you couldn't see anything and it was just a hot mess. So
there have been a few of those over the years.
Yeah.
So I want to it's a bye. Like, I don't think this is the Hounds like missing something. the announcement says that home opener is the third match of the Hounds USL schedule. If it wasn't the third match, they don't need to say anything.
That's true.
Right? Like, but that they are that specific to me says, yeah, we've got to buy that week.
Okay.
We'll see. Would it be the first time the Hounds?
Yeah, Josh, I agree. I doubt, but
I'm just saying.
I see.
You're telling me the Hounds can't be a little bit houndsy sometimes?
Yeah. So we know, like we said, that the season's going to start here very, very soon. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. It sounds like if we do have a bye in week 2, Josh, your point about construction on the stadium, we know that it's going to have to happen soon. We know that they're talking about multiple phases over multiple years, so this isn't like they can just sit on it. So it will be, it'll be very, very interesting. Guys, one other bit of news before we get into sort of 2 other massive talking points, and then we'll get to any other questions that we have time for. The Riveters did announce 3 more returning players. We talked about the Riveters last week. Kennedy Neighbors, Sydney Langman, Sierra Dupree, all coming back. Steve, thoughts on those 3 returning? And I mean, it feels like they're really kind of bringing back the whole crew, or as much of the crew as they can from last season.
Yeah, I mean, 3 players that I think played varying roles, but Kennedy Neighbors in particular, who really showed her quality throughout the season. It really is exciting to see those types of players that have the ability to like still play collegiately coming back to the Riveters.
Yeah.
That it says 2 things to me, right? Like it says that the Riveters are ambitious and they're pursuing these players, but it also says that the culture and the desire for those players to want to come back is there. And so for me, that's really, really exciting. We've talked about it over the past year plus that we hope to see a Riveters Super League team in the future. Building the environment now with these players who are not playing at the professional level is a really great thing, so that when you do go to the professional level, you say, hey, look, you played for us before. Well, you know, you're a free agent now. Maybe you've been playing for a year or 2 in the USLW, but we want to sign you and you know what we're about. That's huge.
Yeah. Josh, you happy with things?
Heck yeah. This is, I think, you know, to your second point, Steve, about them wanting to come back because this is the place to be, is what I feel like this is mostly. Like comparing what the atmosphere that Highmark had for the Riveters to other teams in this league is, I don't think it's night and day. Like it was completely on a different level. And if you're playing semi-pro, if you're playing, you know, amateur still, like that's the dream to play in front of that type of crowd. So like, I'm not surprised that all these players are coming back. And this just makes me even more bullish on like what this team can achieve this coming season. Like, I know we were super hyped and the, you know, coaching staff and everyone from the front office got super hyped for last season. And we were expecting like, you know, them to walk on water pretty much all last season, and it didn't quite happen that way. They were great, but they weren't as great as we thought they could be. This season, all these pieces coming back, like they're gonna have that cohesion that they didn't have at the beginning of last season. So like this could be a heck of a run this season, and I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, we talked with Scott about how do you build a team when literally they have finals like 3 days before your first game. Yeah. And yeah, now that's less of a concern because you do have so much cohesion. So I agree. I'm looking forward to seeing what we do. Obviously, there's going to be some spots that we're going to have to fill. You're going to have some of these players that are graduating college and might have other opportunities elsewhere, which like, great, good for them. That's kind of the whole point of this. Yeah. We're excited for them. We'll continue to follow them, but yeah, exciting stuff nonetheless. So keep it up. I know that I think they had their second open tryout. So that's moving along as well. And I'm sure that we'll continue to hear about players as that continues to develop. So guys, 2 other big talking points, and we have roughly like 14 minutes left for the hour. So I'm going to ask the first one. We're going to spend 7 minutes at most, and then I'm going to cut it off because I want to ask the second one as well. It's been sitting out there for a while. This started as a conversation that the 3 of us plus others from Mongols had internally. And I wanted to sort of talk about it further here, see if you guys have thoughts, see if anybody listening has thoughts. the Hounds just won the championship in 2025. I think that as a fan, we're always like, well, it's our title. We're going to go out there. We're going to defend that title. There's obviously a number of factors that determine whether or not you actually can defend a title. It's been, 26 years, and we haven't won it. And now we just kind of assume that we've got the right formula that it's just going to happen again. So my question is, do we realistically think that the Hounds are going to mount a title defense in 2026? Do we think we're going to come out and be the top team? I shouldn't even say come out and be the top team in the East, because I think being the top team in the East is a different argument than win the title again. But Josh, realistically, do you think that the goal for this organization is to mount a title defense next year?
No. And I'm okay with that. I do think obviously you want to go out there and you want to put out the best team possible and do as great as possible. That's obvious, but at the same time, you are having a coaching situation change. We don't know where that's at. You have all these players that are cycling out. Also because probably the coaching situation is up in the air, or at least it was when they were originally looking for, where to go next. So this team is going to be, it's a joke because we always say they're rebuilding, legit rebuilding, like from the ground up as far as the coaching and everything. So even if there is some continuity with having Vincent back as the head coach, that is a big change, especially having that weight on him to build the team from the beginning. Mm-hmm. So it is going to be a rebuilding year, and that's okay. And I don't think we should be, the world's on fire if they're not at top of the table.
Steve, where do you stand on this? Do you think that as an organization, the goal is to be champions again in 2026?
Before I get there, one of my favorite things about Mongols and our crew is that Josh is sitting here talking and throws up a comment from his wife, who is just down the hall, right? Just downstairs. And it is fun. And so I just want to say, it's fun. Thanks, Liz. Thanks for making my night better. I think I understand what Josh is saying. I think, though, when you're looking to go to D1, yes, there's a lot of transition. I haven't actually gone back and looked at the numbers, but I guess that this is an above average in the past 8 years of number of players returning. And to me, that's exciting. That's a statement of saying, hey, we've got some quality that are already signed, and we're trying to bring back players. And like we talked about earlier, I think we're going to see 2, 3, maybe 4 more players back on new deals. To the question of do they actually do it? Probably not. And do I care? No, because only the purple teams have ever won it twice in the modern era, right? So the modern era being 2011 onwards. So Orlando City, 11 and 13, and then their heirs in Louisville did it in 17 and 18. No other team has won it twice. And so there needs to be a lot more time, I think, until we start seeing multiple teams repeating or multiple teams winning it multiple times, right? It's just, there's not a big data set. Could it happen? Sure. Do I think it does? It's a fairly equitable league. Anybody can win it at any time.
I think it hit me at first because I was like, well, of course they're going to try to mount a title defense. But I think my immediate reaction then was, okay, but how? How do you do that? And there's so many factors at play in terms of financially. Do you go out and try to buy the best players? To both of your points, we still don't. Well, they probably know. We don't know who the coach is at this point. We know that over the next 3 years, the goal is to expand the stadium. Mm-hmm. And so you have that. You have the Riveters that you're also juggling. You're also juggling the academy. So if you're really kind of looking at it, I think, yes, you're going to go out and you're going to say, we're going to mount a title defense. We're going to go and try to win this all in 2026. But especially with the playoffs, so much of it seems to be a bit of a crapshoot. So you really kind of try to build the best team that you can and see what you can do. But I don't think that they're going to do that at the expense of taking shortcuts on the stadium or taking shortcuts with the Riveters. It just seems like there's too much that they're going to be juggling. So do I think that they can put together a team that is going to compete and is going to make the playoffs? And I think Rob said on the USL show, the goal is always at least fourth place, get that home field playoff thing. And then who knows what's going to happen. Do I think they're going to do that? Yes. I think that they will put the resources in play to go after at least fourth place, at least continue to be kind of a powerhouse in the East. But realistically, I don't know if we want to, from a business and financial perspective, go all in on making this team the winner in 2026, because there's just so many other things that are going to have a longer lasting impact on the trajectory of this club beyond winning back-to-back championships. I think it's possible. Do I think that it's going to be the, like I said, go all in goal? No, probably not.
Do we have time for one more comment or no?
Yeah.
No. Okay, cool. I didn't know where we're at with that 7 minutes. But one thing I do want to say is the whole stadium expansion thing. I don't see that as being a either or. I feel like that is an and, because the stadium expansion is what's going to give us the money to give the Hounds the money to make the bigger signings. The more people we can fit in that stadium, the more money they have, the more revenue they have. Also with that is I just don't think that's the way the money works. I don't think, he spent the money on the stadiums, therefore he can't spend the money on the players. Like, it's all fake money. It's all loans. It's all, whatever. So the money he spends on the stadium, I don't think that actually affects what players we can sign. Yeah. I do think the sooner that happens, the better. And then the last point is, if you're looking to get to Division I, you need to have that stadium in place and all that kind of stuff in place to do it. And we've seen with, North Carolina basically bowing out right now, and they plan on just coming back in D1. These next couple of years, as far as where you're at in the standings, that's not going to affect if you get D1. Yeah. You need to set yourself up to be successful once you are in D1. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to be surprised if the next couple seasons we don't see the product being where we want it to be. I do hope it is competitive, but I just don't think I'm willing to have short-term success in D2 when we could have long-term success in D1. Yeah. And that's okay.
I've said it for a long time, right? Like shut up or put up, right? Like, don't tell me you're going to win a championship. And somehow we won a championship this year, right? But I'm okay with that if the messaging is, no, we need to focus on the sustainability of the organization. And everything I've seen from the organization is focusing on stability and sustainability. I've not liked that they've talked about winning a championship, but hey, they won it. So who am I to argue?
Well, and to your point about sustainability, Jeff Garner was brought in and he's absolutely crushing it. This was a team that, like we said, wasn't really making the playoffs, and they were still selling out. And from or selling at Highmark, I should say, I should be more specific. From a financially stable standpoint, if you can still do that, then what is the incentive to then spend even more money on the players if you can still fill those seats? So there's a lot of conversations. I want to talk to Jeff this offseason too. I keep looking at the calendar, and it's like, when we got to do this. We got to do it. We got to talk to Jeff. So yeah, Tony Rivera in the chat said, based on what Tuffy said at the rally, the stadium is the focus. I think the Hounds will stay competitive, but may not make another championship run until then. Thank you, Tony, for that comment. Guys,
I'll disagree because anybody can win it.
Yeah. That's fair. There is some conversation in the chat. I'm going to save this for a future episode because there is a question that I do want to ask you guys, specifically about, are we concerned about a strike this season? Because we know that the players and the player union isn't necessarily happy. And if there was a strike, we've seen what that's done to other leagues. So let's save that for next week. We keep teeing up these teams, but this is great. We're going to talk about that next week. So send us your thoughts, mongols3@gmail.com, about strikes and thoughts, or you can join us live next week, 7:00 on Sunday. We will talk about that then. Guys, one of the questions that has been hanging out there, this is from Adam, who sent this into us. With the MLS switching to a fall to spring schedule to match Europe, do we think that the USL should do the same? So for those of you who don't know, it feels to me like the USL made a massive splash by saying that we were going to do pro rel. And that was bringing a certain new factor to US soccer that hasn't been here, that makes it closer to Europe. MLS's response seems to be, okay, well, we're going to switch so that our schedule is in alignment with Europe. So we are now, instead of playing from spring to fall, we're going to play fall to spring. Now, I understand the reasons why, because it kind of lines up with the player schedule in terms of being able to sign European players. It's much easier to get them before the season starts rather than trying to bring them in mid-season. But because of the climate here in the US, the MLS has said that they're essentially going to take off January and February. So you're literally going to have a fall season, take 2 months off, and then come back in the spring. That's something similar to what they do in Germany. It is not a 2-month break. That feels to me like a massive break. So based on how I'm delivering this message, you could probably guess where I stand on this conversation. Josh, do you think that the USL should do what MLS is doing and go to a fall to spring schedule?
No, for multiple reasons, but the biggest one being what you just said with the 2-month break, and especially being a Pittsburgh fan, that sounds absolutely like a horrible idea.
You don't want to be at a game last night?
No, I don't. I mean, I don't mind the cold, but that's a little bit too much even for me. I do think in a league where attendance is how you make your money, and that is the USL, and I got a feeling that will be USL Division 1. If you need attendance, you need to be able to play in at times where the attendance is going to be the most advantageous. And that is the case. So like you don't make that change. I especially think it's true for USL. If you're trying to make this whole system where you have pro rel, you have like, it feels like what they're doing is very much trying to make an American system where we can develop American players and keep that as the focus. Like, would it be nice to have a bunch of international signings? Sure. But like, I would rather have this league focus on becoming the American league that actually develops players from division, 3 all the way up to division 1.
Yeah. Steve, thoughts?
So, the USL, even at a first division league in a couple of years, is far from where MLS is. And I think that's really important, right? Like MLS is making this decision because I think Josh points out, like trying to get players in MLS that are American players to have better opportunities long-term from US soccer. But also it's like, there's rumors that Timo Werner is going to be signing in MLS, right? Like that's the level of player. He is not at the end of his career. He's a good player that has played in the Premier League and in Germany and been impactful, and MLS is trying to sign. It makes it a lot easier for MLS teams to find players like that. The USL is not that level. And so Tony Rivera in the chat said, Ian said it. Tony's was good. I think the USL should wait and see. I was reading both of them and I got mixed up who was going to go who. So I'll go to Tony first. Yes, I think the USL should wait and see what happens to MLS. But Ian Matusa's comment, why does the Super League do it then? Because the Super League is trying to actually knock NWSL off being the top women's league in the US. The USL Championship Premier is nowhere close to doing that to MLS, so don't do it.
Yeah. Do you think that should be the goal, though, of USL Division 1?
No, I don't. And
knock MLS off? No.
Like now? No. In 30 years? Maybe. Dang, I'll be an old man. We'll all be old men. Let somebody else have that conversation.
Listen, I
Mike, your grandkids can have that on the pod.
Seriously. I can't imagine this being a legacy thing that I pass down to my kids. That'd be insane.
Generational
we won't do that. Yeah, you could scroll through and see the comment from my middle son earlier in this episode to understand that would be a bad idea. But anyway, train of thought. Oh no, I tend to think so. There's a lot of things that we've talked about. Even down to, do you call it the Riverhounds Soccer Club or do you call it the Riverhounds Football Club? I think that there are some pieces to this that you do want to take away from the European game. And I think that there are some pieces to this that you want to keep uniquely American. We've talked about, I've been a proponent of doing away with playoffs, and everyone has said, no, like the playoffs are an American thing. You cannot have a league without playoffs. Okay, fine. So we keep the playoffs. My thing is that I would love to see the USL, because of Pro Rel, be able to provide teams and markets that at this point cannot cannot afford to start up a team somewhere, like St. Louis, or start up a team like, New York, where you can have a smaller team in Brooklyn that just kind of gets a foothold. They're there. They're the local community club. And if they perform well, then they have the potential to grow into something bigger. But you don't have to start with, hundreds of millions of dollars just to enter the league. It's giving local teams. You're going to have more local teams all over the country because of what USL is able to do through ProRel. And to me, that is the net win. That is what is going to move soccer ahead in the US more than MLS moving to a fall to spring schedule. And, to Josh Brown's comment in the chat, Highmark is giving PNC Park a run for its money on where to take your kids for a nice summer night. Exactly. Would you rather have the Hounds trying to compete with the Steelers and the Penguins, and at certain times of the year, the Pirates for ticket sales? No, you might as well be the best ticket in town when you're competing against the Pirates that people are fed up with. And all summer long, it's the summer of soccer in Pittsburgh. So I don't want to say I'm firmly against this. But I'm very much in the don't do it right away. I'm fine kind of waiting and seeing. The taking 2 months off for me is a deal breaker. That's two different seasons. Teams get cold. You don't know, it's not worth it to me. So if you're taking off two months, I'm out. I don't want anything to do with it.
So, I talked about how I'm excited for Brooklyn, right? I'm even more excited now that we're having this conversation because it's Brooklyn is the team that's playing over the summer in New York.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
NYCFC, Red Bulls, they're not playing at that time. So you're competing with baseball, and baseball is good in New York, right? You're competing with New York. You're competing with other things, but you're not competing with other higher tier soccer teams. So go have fun. Bring those fans in.
Yeah. Liz just said, but the Pirates gave a soccer kit next year. Obviously, they're super cool.
You mean a rip-off soccer kit?
That's a whole nother conversation for another time. But yes, if you did not see it, Josh, did you find it? Was it a leak of what the Pirates are doing, or you shared it with us?
They just made the announcement, here's what we're doing promotion-wise next season, and that was just one of them. Or this, I don't know. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, that was one of it, and obviously, it is completely the same pretty much design as what the Hounds had. Do they know they ripped them off the Hounds? I have my doubts. I think they're just that oblivious to what the Hounds did. But the fact that they're both Asian and they both have the city of Pittsburgh map, and it's just this is too much of a ripoff. They have to change that, or
but theirs shows the North Hills better than the Hounds does.
Okay.
So it's a different,
Okay. Guys, we talked about a lot. We've passed the hour mark. Do either of you have any kind of closing thoughts on this one?
No.
I can't believe that 2 months. Really? That's it?
No, Mike's timekeeping is bad.
Okay.
Middle of December. We've got the rest of December, all of January, all of February, the beginning of March.
Okay.
It's almost 3 months.
But we also have preseason games.
Yes.
We start preseason games, which
yes, that is soon.
Yeah. It's wild to think it's that soon.
Yeah.
Well, this is also why we're
what happens when you win the championship?
What? You got to. We're gonna have a combine, and we're gonna have a preseason training weeks, and then we're gonna have actual preseason games, which are gonna have to be in February. So we're a month and a half.
So I do have something else, right? That's the thing that is wild. Is it's we've been accustomed to. We start seeing video and photos this week of combine stuff. They haven't had the chance to do that yet. Is that not happening until after Christmas?
Are they not doing it?
I think they are doing it. I think it's Visser, and I think it's probably Vincent, and maybe the future head coach if it's not one of them. Which, it's not Visser. We know that.
I'm really, really hoping that when we get together next week, we know who the coach is, and hopefully we could have talked to them by that point, and we'll have that to talk about in addition to this whole idea of a player strike or potential. I should rephrase that. We don't know if there's definitively going to be a player strike, but it's a talking point that there's a non-0% chance that it could happen. So we how serious is it, and what could the impacts be? Let's talk about it. So that is going to be for next week. Thank you, everybody who joined us live and added comments and questions. This was fun. I mean, obviously, we pulled a lot of questions from the chat. Tony said, please just announce the coach already. Yes, we are with you, Tony.
I'm not the coach.
Yes, Josh is not the coach. So thank you, everybody. We do appreciate it. If you're listening to this, make sure that you leave a comment about the show wherever it is you're listening to this. Share this with a friend. Join us live if you would like, Sundays at 7 p.m., at least for the foreseeable future. It's a massive conversation. We're having tons of fun. For those of you who are joining us live on video, we also really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Gentlemen, as I say every week, I really do look forward to this and I enjoy the conversation. This is great. Really looking forward to some more Hounds news this week. Thanks, everybody. We will be back with more Hounds and Riveter stuff to talk about very, very soon.
Later.
See ya.